Republicans hate the idea of people working from home.
I'm sitting here thinking like an average American, and I cannot understand how the other side thinks you're serving the American people by not having people come to work every day. The American people don't understand that. They go to work every day. Why is it that the federal workforce is not required to go to their office and do their jobs? And for them to defend that is really mind-boggling. Mr. O'Malley, you're an ambitious man with a long career in elected and appointed positions. I need one-word answers from you. In those positions, who were you accountable to? Constituents, taxpayers, the president, the American people?
The American people, or the people of Baltimore, or the people of Maryland. It's a republic.
Well, that's what we want you to continue to do. But in November, the November 2024 agreement between SSA and the American Federation of Government Employees that you signed allows 98% of SSA employees to telework. Can you explain how you justified signing the agreement that will result in not even meeting the low bar of 50% that President Biden set out for people to come to work?
The eligibility of telework greatly preceded my arrival at the agency, Congresswoman. In fact, in the second term of President Obama's administration, he asked the agency to become leaders in the federal government in portable workloads. And I think we should all be grateful, because otherwise in the pandemic, those checks would have stopped. What my agreement did was to put into the agreement actually a dialing up of on-site presence.
But
I
you
increased it greatly.
Never even met the 50% threshold that President Biden put in place. You never met that.
Well,
and I think that is such a low bar. I just don't think that this agreement that you signed serves the best interest of the taxpayers who pay for the Social Security Administration, or the American people who expect their government to show up and be able to provide good service. So I think it's an abomination that you would sign an agreement to let 98% of the people in the administration stay at home and work.
That's not what I did, Congresswoman.
Well,
that's not what I did. 98% were eligible for telework, but I required all of the headquarters folks and the regionals and the areas to be there 3 days a week. And ever since the pandemic ended, those field offices in each of your districts have been open 5 days a week. Ever since vaccines were available, 5 days a week.
Thank you very much.
I think it's important to actually be real about what this hearing is actually about. And I think it's always important here in the Oversight Committee to pull back the curtain on kind of the bigger agenda and why these hearings get called. So let's talk about what this hearing is and is not. I think it's important to observe that this hearing is not just about telework and work from home policies. It is actually setting the stage for dismantling the federal workforce. It's about the incoming administration and their desire to try to fire and get thousands of federal workers to leave the federal workforce. And it's about the restructuring of the workforce through the new DOGE subcommittee and the executive actions that are associated with it, and that was created here in this committee yesterday. How do we know this? Because the co-chairs of the DOGE task force, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, have been very open about telework ending as a way to get thousands of federal employees to leave. In fact, right after the election in November, they published a thought piece in the Wall Street Journal, which stated that telework would result in voluntary terminations of federal workers. It's also noteworthy that one witness who's here today is from an organization that was co-founded by an author of Project 2025 and was a former Trump OMB official. It's also noteworthy that the majority here in the Oversight Committee actually tweeted from their own account this week that they were plotting to take down the deep state. And here we are. They're not even hiding it anymore. It's also noteworthy that this isn't just happening here in this room, but as we speak here in this room, Russell Vought, who is literally one of the architects of Project 2025, is preparing for his confirmation hearing in the Senate this afternoon. Now, Mr. Vought is one of the former leaders of OMB. He is, by his own description, called his own think tank the Death Star, and has made it very clear that his intentions upon becoming the OMB director is to eviscerate and dismantle the federal workforce. But I think it's also worth noting to Mr. Vought and to other Star Wars fans that the Death Star actually had 1.7 million military personnel and almost 500,000 droids and civilians working there, because even Commander Tarkin and Darth Vader understood that it takes a workforce to get stuff done. So, not unlike the Death Star, we have to be clear that there is a nefarious intention behind this hearing and what we know is coming. And Donald Trump has been very clear that he plans to sign an executive order in the coming weeks, possibly even next week, that will end work from home.
It's easy to assume that these people's families must hate them so much that they'd rather be in an office than at home, but there is a much less human explanation for this push to bring federal employees back to the office. They don't want people to return at all.
Sir, the next item, as you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately.
They are the ones doing this on the way out the door. Donald Trump, again, he announced that federal workers are going to go back to the office because they work for you. Everyone watching us at home tonight, they work for you. Those federal workers, you pay their salaries. They need to show up at an office. And again, Donald Trump's going to rip up those agreements that allows those workers to work from home, although we all know what the federal workers are really doing is just absolutely nothing at best. At worst, they're working against you and your family and your security. And he's going to say that you have to get back into the office. And he's also going to say that workers who've betrayed the trust of the American people are going to be fired. And in cases where they violated the rights and liberties of the American people, they're going to face accountability. They are going to face justice. We are going to restore representative government and democracy in this country.
Republicans have made no secret of their plans to decimate the federal workforce. And what better way to do that than by forcing workers back into the office, knowing full well that many employees would rather just find a new job. That way they get to slash the workforce, and then they can blame the lazy workers rather than themselves when everything grinds to an inevitable halt. This is a tactic, by the way, that many CEOs, including Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, have already employed. And after all, Trump said he would run the US like a business. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.